Okay, so we can start off. We don't have any septic applications this week for this meeting. So let's go through what we have. The first one are minutes. I noted, Herb, that you made some corrections. I reviewed, I didn't have any others. So are we, Lee, are you set? Herb, hopefully you're set, Herb, with the corrections.
I wouldn't call them corrections, Dick. I'd call them suggestions.
Yeah. Are you okay with those minutes? Oh, we got two also. That was, you did not get the ones from the prior meeting, Herb, and we said we would do both of those tonight. Are we okay with those?
Yes.
Lee, are you?
Yeah.
Me
Yes,
too.
thank you.
Colleen, they're both approved. Next
Okay.
one. Timesheet for Colleen, a normal 70 hours for the 2 weeks. Are we okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Me too. Colleen, that's approved.
Okay.
Money turnover, we've got $890 for our Board of Health permits, then licenses, 1145 for a total of 2,035. Are we okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Me too. Colleen, that's approved.
Okay.
Well, sign off for 68 Kendall Street. That was lot 82. I did look at it. That water passes everything, and it looks like Quabbin Analytical is using the Phoenix for the chemical part of it, and I was okay with this. Are we okay?
Yes.
Yeah, it looked okay.
Okay, Colleen, you can sign off on that one. That's, we approved that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
The next one is at 116 Aldrich Street, a well decommissioning permit. Actually, I drove by there. It looks like that's at the Sousa property, and it looks like I saw that extra well. I'm wondering what was going to happen. Are we okay to let them seal that off?
Yes.
If you were driving by the property, how did you see that well?
There's one, the new well is, I think, further back from the road with a big rock on it or next to it. And I can't remember where I saw the other well, but I remember seeing that rock be there.
It's right next to the house.
Okay. So then that one I didn't see. I saw the new one.
You saw the new one. Okay. All right, because I was just wondering.
So it's the new one that I saw.
Yes.
So, and I'm okay with that too. So that one.
Okay.
The next one is a longer one. That is a new food truck. What do we have for so we've got the application and the sheets with it and the permit as well. Are we okay with this to just hand this to Lynn?
That's what I would do.
Lee?
Yeah. Is this something that is gone over by the agent that gives us some part-time work out of Holyoke? Is that how this whole thing works?
Yeah, that would be that she would do it before they could get this in operation.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. Okay.
So
Thank you.
we approve it, subject to Lynn's inspection.
Okay. Yeah, they want to set up at the American Legion, like, I think I put the hours on there. 9 in the, I don't remember the hours, 9 in the morning till, I don't know, into the night or whatever, but that was what her plan was. So.
Is that going to cause me? Will that
Go
cause
ahead.
any traffic problems turning into the American Legion?
She did go in front of planning board, I think, and got an approval to do so. So.
Okay.
I don't
Okay,
know.
then, and we said that we would approve it and pass it to Lynn. The next one that I have is for McDuffie, the renewal. There are two of them. Permit to operate a food establishment. The other is to sell milk and cream. Are we okay with those two?
Yes.
Mhm.
Did you say yes, Herb?
I did. What is McDuffie going to be doing, selling milk and cream?
As far as I know,
mean,
this is their cafeteria.
So just as part of the lunch?
Right.
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Okay.
Because
It
they
seems
contract
to-
out their Sage dining services is what they're contracting that food prep to for their meals. And this one would be also subject to Lynn on all of these. So we approve them and Lynn inspects. So we approve both of those. The next
Okay.
that I have is Council on Aging to operate a food establishment. This is also a renewal. Are we okay with that?
Yes.
Herb?
Aren't they just operating a transfer of food from wherever it was created to the participants at the Council on Aging?
Yeah, it's the same thing that's there, but it's an annual renewal.
Right, but is that a food establishment to take food from one place and just set it out on the table? Does that make you a food establishment? I'm just questioning that. I don't know. They're not cooking the food there.
No. But the fact that it could go bad and the people need training to be doing it is probably the safe way to get a handle on what's going on. There's no charge that's involved.
Yeah. Okay.
So Colleen, that would be the same thing that Lynn does go, is approved, and I also am approving.
Right. Okay.
Something special has got the next one, and that's two of them. One is a food service establishment, and that's, you know what? I've had two. Oh, one is catering
The
and one
catering-
is for the
Mhm.
cafe. Okay, so that's why there are two of them.
Mhm.
Are we okay with that one? That's a renewal also. Those are both renewals.
Yes.
Okay, Herb?
Did they run this cafe last year?
They did. They opened that up. Remember, they're running it, I think it's Wednesdays through Sunday.
Okay.
So I'm okay with this too, Colleen. So the same thing requiring Lynn.
Yep,
The next one is American Legion. That's a food service establishment. Also renewal.
Yep.
Herb,
It's fine with me.
me too. So that's same
Yeah.
thing. Colleen approved with Lynn.
mhm,
The next one
Okay.
is Dunkin' Donuts, and that one is, let me see, I think there's four there. Uh, That is milk and cream, frozen desserts, license to sell retail foods, and operate a food establishment. Are we okay with those four?
Yes.
I'm fine with it because when I did the inspection of Dunkin' Donuts, I thought they were right on the ball with everything.
Good, and I am too, Colleen, so that's the same. We'll have Lynn look at that one.
Mhm.
The next one is Cindy's, and that is two for Cindy's. That one is food establishment, and the second is frozen desserts. Are we good with that? Those.
Yes.
Herb?
I said, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed. Then I also agree, so that's the same for those two, Colleen.
Okay.
The next one is Center Pharmacy. I'm guessing, Lee, you're gonna abstain and from the discussion on this one?
Yes, I would like to voice my conflict of interest on this and will not participate.
Okay. Herb, this is for a license to sell retail foods. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
I am too, Colleen, so that's the same thing. We approve it and Lynn goes in.
Okay.
Next
Mhm.
one is Granby Grain. And that's two of them there. That's licensed to sell retail food and licensed to sell milk and cream. Are we okay with that, those two?
Yes.
Yes.
I am too, so that's the same, Colleen.
Okay.
The next one is Dave's Natural Gardens or retail foods. Are we okay with that one?
Yes.
Yep.
Me too, Colleen, same thing then. It's approved and
Okay.
Lynn. The next one is John Dow YD Excavation. This is a septic license installer's permit. And it's a renewal, I believe, Colleen, is that correct?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Herb and Lee, we okay with this?
Yes.
Yep.
Me too, Colleen, so that's approved.
Okay.
Next one is another
Okay.
renewal from Todd Marion for Marion Excavating. And that's the same thing, installer's permit. It's a long-standing vendor. Are we okay with that, Herb and Lee?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Me too, Colleen, that's approved. Clean Septics, another renewal, installer's permit. Are we okay with that?
Yes.
I am. Yep.
And I am too, Colleen, that's approved.
Okay.
Another renewal, River Drive Excavating. Are we okay with that one?
Yes.
Me too, that's approved.
Okay.
Now back to food again. Church of Christ, hold church, it's special events. It's a food license. That's interesting. And that's, Colleen, this is just a standard renewal?
Yes, it's a renewal. That way she'll go in, look at their kitchen and whatnot, and then they still will pull a temporary food permit when they do something, but just to hold, yeah, special events.
Okay. Herb and Lee, are we okay with this?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is just to have the license for the year, but when they do something, it's an individual case by case. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And
Thank you.
I'm okay too, Colleen, but this one requires
Okay.
Lynn inspection also.
Yeah,
And we've got for Martinez at doing business as Pizza Palace, operate a food service establishment. Are we okay with that?
Yes.
It's difficult when you're there doing the inspection because he doesn't want you there and he is feisty.
He is feisty. He is
Yes.
definitely, but are you okay with it, Herb?
Yes.
I am too, Colleen. So that's the same thing with approve with Lynn. Here's an
Okay.
installer's permit, Bernash Construction. A renewal. Are we okay with that?
Yep.
Sure.
Me too. So that's approved. We've had another, I don't know what one this is going to happen, but I've got the thing for our Cox Enterprises is here. Colleen, did you say that this person is coming tonight? Ron Cox?
oh, well, he came in so late and I said, well, I would ask if he could come in on the meeting, but I didn't hear back from anyone, so I never contacted him, to come on.
Okay.
But, so, I mean, he wanted to kind of get it sooner than later because he's doing a system and he wasn't sure about the weather, if the weather was gonna turn or not, so.
And I think we should talk to him. He gave us a lot of paperwork and licenses, but if you
He
notice,
did.
other than one that was for the year before last, everything is just for last year. It's like he just showed up. And I'd like to talk to him, and he's a new vendor for us, and I think our normal procedure for new vendors is to talk.
Yes, I told him that.
Herb and Lee, do you think we should talk to him?
When I saw the communication, I didn't think we should actually put him on tonight because of there was no way to get this on the agenda in time, but of course, he ought to be talked to just like any other new vendor.
Yeah, and again, he's not on the agenda, so we'll get him for next time.
Okay.
Perfect.
Moving into Title V reports, we've got 3 of them, and 40 Green Meadow Lane for Toretti passes, 90 Carver Street for Toretti passes, and 96 East Street Toretti fails. Lee, are we in a spot that those all should be received?
Yeah, those are all accurate. Yes.
Okay, can we vote on all 3 to receive them? Herb and Lee?
Yes. Absolutely.
Herb
Yes.
and me also, Colleen, so they're received.
Okay. Okay.
We've got, moving on to our discussion items. One of them, the first one is 81 Pleasant Street. So that's the former Wally Boyd property. That's interesting because we were asked by I think the Historical Commission to work with the state to save that house. And then one day I drove by and it was gone.
And it could have been gone spontaneously in the condition it was in.
It was terrible. Do we, now that's sewered in there. And they want to put a garage type building. Do we have any comments on that? That one that should go to the planning board?
Are they going to have septic or a well there? If they are, then the answer is yes. If they aren't, then the answer is no.
Well, they have sewers there.
Yeah, but are they going to use it?
Well, well, you're right. Who knows? That we've got across from Granby Grain or adjacent to Fins Hill, there's a building up in the back there that doesn't have any sewage whatsoever.
Mhm.
Maybe it's reasonable to send the planning board in keeping with what Herb is saying. They haven't really defined anything with drainage, sewer, or water, and they should be required to submit that to the board for approval before the permit is granted. Lee, Herb, what do you think?
Your audio is breaking up, Dick, so
Oh,
don't know why, but it's intermittently breaking up.
huh. I wonder if it's because I was folding this paper back and forth in front of my microphone.
I don't know,
Okay.
but I think they ought to define what they're going to use if they're going to have facilities there.
Okay, Colleen, I can support that. How about Lee, can you also?
Yeah, it makes perfectly good sense, Herb.
Okay.
And if you go a step further and look at what the discussion's going to be on this next one, maybe it's even further than that, is we should understand what the activities are that are going to take place and determine if they need any kind of groundwater protection. So we should send in to the planning board recommending that they not grant this without submitting the type of activity, whether they need groundwater protection, what they're going to be using for water, and what they're going to be using for waste disposal.
Your audio is still doing funny things, Dick.
And I don't know how to do anything about it.
It's echoing.
Oh, maybe I can turn it down.
Maybe.
I'll try it. And maybe let's see. What if when I speak with less volume, is that any better?
Marginally.
Okay.
Are other people hearing the same echo I'm hearing?
Yeah, I hear it a little bit, yeah.
A little bit, yes.
So just whisper, Dick, and see whether that'll work.
Okay. I will try to do that. The next one is for 39 West State Street. And we've had a comment from a neighbor of being concerned with that property. That is an auto body shop. And I actually looked at what the planning or the ZBA was talking about, and all that they've got on that site is a statement that says the parking lot will be just graded and maintained. And it certainly seems reasonable to me that we ought to ask the same questions that we just asked of Pleasant Street, but especially at some place that's receiving vehicles that have been in accidents, to have them just stuck there on a dirt parking lot, doesn't seem that that's a responsible way to handle oils and prevent things from going in the ground. It would seem logical to me that they would in fact need to have a waste oil protection system. Herb and Lee, what are your thoughts?
Is this did you say 39 West State?
39 West State.
It's AJ's. It's AJ's.
So- Okay, but I don't get to that part of town too often, but aren't they doing that, and haven't they been doing that for the last umpteen years, Dick, as far as receiving vehicles in different states of, damage?
I think they have, and now they want to increase what they're doing. And as I look at it, after this neighbor complained about what this was happening, and in fact, if you look at what this board said to you, Lee, what Herb and I said to you about the potential of vehicles in the back of the pharmacy leaching into the ground, this seems
Yep.
like the perfect place where we should be saying whether it happened in the past, increasing the scope of an operation doesn't seem environmentally sound.
No, I agree. I didn't know if it was a new startup or existing. Maybe at the very least, they need a holding area, if you will, for something coming in that's really been wrecked and, leaking out some various fluids from a vehicle, fenced in, locked, whatever, so that there is a way of containment rather than just the gravel that's been there since the last 30 or 40 odd years.
Herb, I don't hear much from you.
Yes, you do, Dick. I've been talking all evening.
I know.
AJ's is a body shop. They fix fenders and bumpers and doors. I'm not sure how much oil they have leaking. I mean, I just have no idea. But it would seem to me that this would have come up many times in the past if there were wrecked cars there that were spewing their bodily fluids. I don't think those are the kind of repairs that they do there. They do the dents and dings and that sort of stuff. I'm not defending them. Although I would ask Lee, you don't get to that part of town? You mean to Five Corners? You don't get to Five Corners?
My world is somewhat narrow. I put 2 miles a day on my vehicle back
Okay.
and forth to the store. My wife does. She goes to the banking and so forth, but
Never mind.
it
Never
was-
mind.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. I'm
I'm
not
a
sure.
homebody.
Yes, I'm not sure how much heavy damage repair they do, Dick. I don't know. Maybe they should
Yeah,
tell.
That could be a great question to put forth.
My suggestion would be we tell the planning board the same thing we just said for Pleasant Street, but we also include the fact that they need a plan to deal with leaking vehicle body fluids. That should be included. And the plan is, Herb, if you're correct, they could in fact say, our plan is we don't take any on that site. Or they could do something like Lee just said gee, we're gonna have a pad that the leaking stuff goes on that pad, and we take care of that. And for 90% of our vehicles are not leaking any more than anybody else's. And we're fine the way it is, but all they need is the examination and the plan.
Can we talk about leaking precious body fluids? No, eliminate that.
Okay. So Colleen, we put that the same requirements as the other place, only this one also says a plan. Actually, they could be the same thing. A plan to deal with vehicle body fluids, if any, and let them come back to us. And it could be the same requirement for both places.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Let them do the lifting. We don't have to do the lifting.
Right. Okay, then the next one is our budget. And Colleen sent one out. Essentially, it was a 2% increase. And what I did mail out to Colleen was a different way to look at it. And my feeling is when I sent it out was that this was an extraordinary year for what we've asked Colleen. A year that no one could really have anticipated would continue the way it did. And I thought that going through that budget, there were some items. I thought that Colleen's raise should not be 2%. I thought it should be 5%. And then I went through many of the other items that said, we really don't need 2% on inspections. They're highly dependent on what comes up for us to do. Our rate isn't going up. Our mileage rate isn't going up. We haven't raised the rate for the plumbing inspector. We haven't raised it for anybody. So why should those inspection rates be going up by an arbitrarily 2% when it's highly, in fact, completely determined on the number of inspections they do? And so my shot at the budget, when I looked at the bottom line after looking at the ones that I thought should increase and not increase, ended up, the total came out at, what does it come out? $73,350, which is actually an overall 3% rate of increase, but obviously driven by the single biggest item is Colleen's salary. So that's what I was thinking. So Herb and Lee, what are your thoughts?
Well, just, and this may or may not be relative to the budget, but just in conversation over the last several months when I'm spending time at a repair or perk test or whatever, a lot of different people from different towns talk about financials, and they talk about the rates that different boards get for different functions are way above anything that we're doing at all in close proximity. Hundreds of dollars for repair perks, new perks, all these different fees that different towns get. We seem to be, in some senses, in the dark ages. Not to beat up the people who want to build in town, but if it's the same structure in surrounding towns, and it's just part of the cost of doing business, I don't know if that's something later on in life we could think about and find out what they're getting in Hadley or Ludlow or wherever compared to what we're doing. Which would make perhaps the budget process a little bit softer because we'd be bringing more into the town. But I agree, Colleen should be getting more than 2%.
You said Colleen should be getting 2%?
More,
No, he
In
said
my
she
way of
should be getting more than 2%.
More than 2%. Okay.
yes.
I think Lee makes an excellent point. What we charge for all of our services ought to be in line with our adjacent towns. If we are significantly out of line, then I think we need to do a little study, which would further support Colleen's salary, since she would be collecting the data, for what is charged by our adjacent towns. And maybe that would be a very important piece to present next year. Obviously, we can't do it this year. My direct response to your suggestion, Dick, is that Colleen seems to be super responsive to anything that I suggest, and she appears to be doing a great job. So I think if it's possible to push to 5, then do it. If the town won't do that, then what will they do?
Yeah, I think we can do this, and some months ago, I broached this with Chris Martin, and told him that I thought that was going to be coming anyways, and he certainly at that time didn't express opposition to it. But I agree with what Lee is saying and you're saying, Herb. In fact, I'm just going through, and if you look once again at things that are just smacks of being insanity, if you look at Colleen's number, take Colleen's salary out, and look at what we're providing to the town, the three of us are providing to the town, is we're not getting, there's no health agent. There's no $80,000 health agent that's here. And our inspections are $14,000 for 3 people to be providing the whole health agent process to the town. And it's ludicrous. It's not something that it's kind of like going, and it doesn't matter which one it is, but if you look at my review of the drawings for free, that's not, it doesn't accurately reflect what's happening in our town. So I certainly would support Herb and Lee, your suggestion that we go through and take a look at what the fees are for people around us. And it probably needs to have 2 things done. One is get the fees right, but then the other is to get the charges right. So what do we do with the rest of the budget? Do we submit it the way my cut was for this year? It sounds like the 3 of us are saying for sure the 2% for Colleen is wrong, and we should be going after this one.
I agree.
And you've already said it, so you don't have to repeat it. But the only question I have is, do we change all of the numbers back to what Colleen had and just bump hers to up to the 5%? Or do we leave it where I've said, I think these are gonna be accurate to, at least with this funding and the method of charging is what it's probably gonna really be.
Yeah, I could support that for sure.
Somebody's going to be looking to cut things. So if the most important thing is to get an appropriate raise for Colleen, then I think that should take precedence.
Well, then
Because-
if that's the case, go ahead.
Because otherwise, as the finance committee looks at everything, they're going to say those people are putting it to us. So we're not going to do that. We can't go the 5%. We'll go 3.4%. Because otherwise their budget's out of line with other departments. So I don't think we want to be significantly out of line. What I think we want to do is follow up on Lee's suggestion and find out how to make more money, appropriately make more money for the town, including, as I've said, 4 months to not have Mr. Bombardier freely giving up all this time to the town.
Well, I would suggest, given what you just said, Herb, that the budget that I proposed, if we stood in front of the finance committee and said, you know what, we didn't just take the 2% and give Colleen an extra 3%. We actually recognized that we could cut in some places and we did what was right, and that our budget, instead of going up 2%, went up 3%.
Mm-hmm.
And say this was a very difficult year for the Board of Health and the rest of the town. So if we can do that, if the three of us agree, we can just submit this round and see what it is, and then have Colleen, we'll give Colleen an assignment to look at what other towns are doing. And
Yep. Yes.
okay, then that's
And-
what we're gonna do, Colleen.
And she will then more than pay for her raise.
Absolutely. So that's what we'll do,
Yeah.
Colleen. So that, by the way, oh, then let's talk, what time is it? 7:45. So, COVID issues. As I sent out today, an early view of our performance as a town. And we are, in spite of the fact that the state doesn't take colors anymore, we are very, very red. And we are increasing our transmission at a very, very high rate. Are we at the point that I think we're way worse than the last time we said you have to use face masks? Are we in a spot now that we need to go back to requiring face masks?
What's your sense, Mr. Chairman?
Well, I've got two. That's a nasty question.
I know it is. I know it is.
My sense is my strong feeling is we should be, not just us, but all towns should be saying, let's do the minimum we can, or that we can force on people is to say, you have to wear face masks. So that's the answer. That's the simple answer to the question. Now, the complicated answer is, do I think doing it in Granby is going to make any difference when, if you look at the two pharmacies in town, I think require face masks. So if you said, do I think telling Cumbie that everybody in Cumbie has to wear face masks, do I think that that's going to stop the spread of the disease in town when you drive down the road to get your groceries at Stop and Shop and Big Y, and 10% of the people wear masks in there? That one, I don't think it's going to do anything. So I don't know what answer you were looking for, Herb.
I'm
but
not
it's
looking, not looking for any answer. I think this is an impossibly difficult problem. People are fed up with all of this, and they are going to be totally resistant to us saying that everywhere in town people have to wear face masks. So I don't think we ought to mandate that, or try to mandate that. I hope you all saw my informal hallucination about coming to herd immunity, which I just sent out a while ago. If people are not getting really sick in town, Dick, I could be really off the wall and say, let's get more infections. Let's get to the point of herd immunity in Granby. If such a thing even exists with COVID, it does exist with measles. I don't know that it exists with COVID, and no one knows what the level of positivity would have to be for there to be herd immunity. But when I ask Colleen, she doesn't seem to tell me we've got a lot of people desperately ill from Granby. But then again, we may not know. But it's certainly not via the grapevine that we're getting people dying all over Granby and lots of people in the intensive care unit. I just don't believe that's happening.
The data isn't supporting that view, Herb. I don't know about Granby, but if you look at the state, the hospitalizations are going up at a very, very high rate. Deaths aren't there yet. That for sure. They're on their way, but at a very low slope.
Right. The only really significant outcome here is death. And again, I wrote about all of that. I wrote about death, long COVID, and all the other things, and which things are greater and which things we need to pay attention to. I don't think we are the moral policemen of the citizens of Granby. And they're not going to listen to us anyway if we thought we were. So I don't know what to do, Dick, but I don't think we should mandate masks. I think we should continue to say that in public places, in our buildings, yes, you need to wear a mask. Or if a particular establishment wants you to wear masks, then wear it, or don't do business with them.
I don't know how you feel, Lee. I'm leaning towards, not leaning, really more than leaning towards what Herb is saying. I could accept that if Springfield or West Springfield or all of those in Chicopee all said, you know what, we need to do that, then I would see that Granby, I wouldn't feel this way. I would be saying Granby should follow and do that and make our whole region behave in a certain manner. But saying that little 6,000 person Granby is going to change 200,000 person Springfield is just a wasted effort to get everybody mad at us without getting any benefit. By the way, I don't feel that way about the schools. I would fight very, very hard to the schools and the public buildings. But if you look at how many, 10 businesses in town and do that to them, I don't think it's going to mean diddly. So Herb, I guess I'm saying I support you and say don't do masks right now. Lee, what are you thinking? Again, I am not saying get rid of our current regulations. I'm saying
No, should not get rid of those regulations.
Lee, what is your thought?
I agree. It's a sad situation statewide, but the reality that Herb and you pointed out is that all we're going to do is get people upset with us, and we're not going to change a lot. In the for what it's worth category, can we pass our concerns on to our state rep and or the governor's office to voice our displeasure at the path that we're taking? I don't know if it'll do any good.
I think we ought to voice it through public health in Northampton. We've got shared services. We've got Meredith O'Leary, who is a public health professional who probably has more sway with any of these individuals than we do. So I think if we've got issues, we ought to communicate with our partner.
Okay, great idea.
I agree with that too. On my other business, I'm going to get back to Meredith if that's okay. I just wanted to pass on something, and Colleen, it's probably worthwhile for you to know about it. Is my granddaughter ended up being a close contact and at school, and I talked to Nancy about it, and it surprised me for a couple different reasons, because I talked to my son about it, and the first is he is in a test and stay, or my granddaughter is in a test and stay program. And what that does is it gives quick tests every morning rather than to be home and isolating. And the two things I asked him, I said, here we're in a position that we're trying to get her, she's 9 years old. Is that her first shot? She's going to get her second shot. But I say, here you're in a spot that you're trying to get the kids, like your kid, vaccinated. You're fully vaccinated and boosted. I said, how come, have you authorized pool testing? And he said, I haven't been contacted. So regardless of whether they did or not, in the first place, she's not even in pool testing. And here's someone who's a very pro-vax person. So I told that to Nancy. I said, we should know that. That's good feedback. The second is that he mistakenly thought that the test and stay program is in lieu of quarantine. And it is not. All it is in the school environment. But in all other cases, she's supposed to be quarantined. And he didn't know that. So I said, we should understand that to give you feedback and say, there's a hole in the system that at least my son, who you'd think, since he hears so much from me, would be very aware of what's going on. And he did not understand this. So anyways, it's something that within the schools, I think has to be fixed.
Can I make a comment?
Or you can.
If I use my own kids as examples, I say a lot of things to them. They don't listen to most of it. So maybe your son responded in the same way. I'm being facetious, Dick. I'm sorry.
No, but anyways. So we'll move. That's just an aside. I did talk to Meredith. And I learned some things, which you can do when you talk to someone who's knowledgeable. And so Meredith does understand the reason that we went with the middle, at our last meeting, the middle of the support ladder choices. And she understands that we're going to push it to try to get it, to force it, to make it work for us. Even though at the beginning, as with many new programs, it may be unpleasant until we make it work right. So she did understand that and appreciate it. The other is that she feels strongly that, she had said that she's spoken to you many times, and she feels strongly that Northampton has a lot to offer the county, the towns in the county, and that they already have resources and they're not trying to usurp power, and that they, in fact, as we talked about on several occasions, us as a board, that it seems like the logical place to be putting our strength and to gravitate towards. Her goal is actually she certainly supports the study, that the 128-page study that we've read about, and the shared services. And it looks like they're really going to, Northampton is going to take the lead and try to make that happen and be a willing partner with us on many new things. An item that I did cover with her was septic system reviews. And Northampton has a hole that needs to be filled, that as they've hired new people, they have lost the whole septic system part of this, the function, that they do not have an expert. Right now they're using two different contract people. Charlie Kanicki they're using for the field work, and she gave me the name of another person that was doing the design part, but she said that that's not their intent, that she's aware that many small towns have, and well, in her case also a big town, has a big shortfall with the septic systems, and her plan is to focus on that and to, in fact, provide that as a shared service. But she said it may not come within the next year or even maybe 2 years, but she recognizes that's a regional shortfall. So that is a priority item for her. I can, if that's the case, something that maybe we can kick around is we originally, and she is absolutely a big systems kind of person. She does not want to do Band-Aid approach. She wants to be procedure and systems. And so maybe though, that the stopgap for us is to do something like they are doing. Maybe for the short term is you go with the retired expert that says that's going to be our plan for the next 2 years until Northampton brings about the root cause fix of this thing. So it was a very, very worthwhile conversation.
I guess my response to that, Dick, is why don't we take the lead, identify a company that wants to do these reviews, and then have that part of the shared services and a significant addition to the plan provided by Granby. Since we know we need it, and it's obvious that they need it, why don't we take the lead and make it happen?
Lee, what do you think? By the way, I agree with that. What are you thinking, Lee?
I'm going back to a comment that Lori McCool made about 2 months ago, that there's in her opinion, there's a severe shortage of people who understand this type of engineering. Due to COVID and due to other job offers, there's not many people who are willing to do this or understand it or try to do it. We're in a unique position with Dick since he's been doing this before, most of us.
Millennium.
Pretty much.
Yes.
So we have a blessing in that we have probably the most experienced person in Western Mass, maybe in the state, riding in our town, who has been through all of it over the years, and we're very fortunate to have this expertise at our fingertips. Some of the companies that are doing this are basically semi-retired engineers, such as Charlie Kanicki, Lori McCool, and others up in the hill towns. So yeah, we're heading that way, but I don't know if how easy it will be to get there, since there seems to be a shortfall of adequate personnel willing to do it, or available to do it for that matter.
I'm taking what Herb just offered as it actually gives me a totally different direction than I was headed in. That it with little Granby looking for someone to say, sometimes we have none in this 2-week period. Sometimes we have 10 in a 2-week period, but we're little Granby. If you do what Herb just talked about and said, let's not set it up that way. Let's go now to a tie-in bond who says, we just don't want to hear your thing. You're just a thorn in our side. But if you went to tie-in bond and said, you know what, we want to do this for the western part of the state
Correct the mente.
and get us into a spot that says, you know what, we do know that just as much I don't know diddly. I shouldn't say I don't know diddly, but I'm certainly no public health expert like Meredith is. But Meredith doesn't know diddly about septic systems. So in this case, Lee, you're right. We have a resource that could actually lead this part of the thing and get it done right.
Absolutely.
And it makes us then a very good partner.
Yeah,
Yep.
So I
Good
think
point,
we ought
Eric.
to take the lead in this
Yeah.
stick.
yeah. I think so. I think so. And that is, I'm glad you looked at it that way, because it's a totally different project.
Yes. So if there were, in fact, 20 of these a month, or whatever the number is, at a rate that is an appropriate rate, I'll bet there would be a number of people who would be interested.
Yeah. Yeah, and it
Well, the-
becomes not just
The
a
number-
pain in the neck side project for someone. It's a
Correct.
money-making project for a company.
Correct. An
they
absolute
were-
revenue stream.
They were kicking around a $400 per plan number at my last conversation with Lori McCool. Whether or not that's mainstream, I do not know. Type of numbers
So-
that these people are looking at.
Well, so if there were 20, that's 8,000 a month. That's more than 100,000 a year. You suddenly have a revenue stream.
You do. You do. And then if you then couple that with the installation part, the inspections of the installation,
Yes,
now all of a sudden you're talking about some money, $250,000, $500,000 a year or something. So it gets an engineering company's attention and get something in place. So I'm going to go that route. Let's go and the other is that, as long as I'm well enough, or that if we're trying to set something up and said, let's review this the way it should be reviewed, we could get the system set up that the same stuff I do, someone else could do. And we'd have confidence that this thing has been handled properly. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go out and explore that and see if I can get some different interest.
good. I think that would be very worthwhile.
Oh. And again, because as you said, Herb, this is something that little Granby can roar on this one.
Yes,
We really can.
exactly. So let's do it.
I will.
Let's
I will.
exercise what we can.
Yep. Yep, and make it so that instead of being a back burner on Meredith's plate, it's going to get handed to her. All the work will be done. So, and in fact, so I don't surprise her, I will give her a call over the next couple weeks and tell her that that's what I'm starting to do.
Excellent.
So, okay. So what are, for other business, what else do we have?
I don't, nothing that I can think of.
So are we at a spot that we can end this?
Sounds like it.
You mean forever?
Okay,
I move
Okay.
to adjourn.
okay. Good night, everybody.